What's up, Hoops fans? This is the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. I am Nick. It's Monday. We're joined by old mate Benyam Kidane. BK, what's happening?
Good to be with you, my man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. I'm great. You know, it was a good weekend. Now ready for another long week of watching hoops. BK, we've got a lot to talk about. I'm just going to get straight into it today, and we're going to start off with some NBL highlights, mate, and the unfortunate death of Matthew Dellavedova yesterday due to Mitch Creek. You saw this dunk. The whole world has actually seen this dunk. Mitch Creek absolutely bodied. We've got it up on screen now. Absolutely bodied Matthew Dellavedova. This was, you know, it might be a little bit of recency bias on my behalf, BK, but this was one of the best NBL dunks I've ever seen. Just vicious.
Absolutely. And shout out to Delhi for not making that business decision. He still jumped. There was a 2-on-1 fast break, and he had to have known what was coming, but Mitch Creek really punched that home, and the flex afterwards, everything about it. It's been a great first couple of weeks of the NBL. It's been a real show, and this was definitely the highlight of the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, shout out to Delhi for jumping. He's a hooper, man. Like, yeah. if you play hoops, you're going to get dunked on. And I think Mitch Creek said after the dunk that he didn't actually realize it was Delhi that was up, challenging for that until afterwards. But, you know, old mate Mason Peatling, like, mate, you know, your teammate just died, but you've got to take the L on that. Like, I don't know why he was coming in there charging with the shoulders down on Mitch Creek.
Yeah, you just got to keep him moving there. I mean, it was Delhi tried to get up there for the block. It wasn't happening. Mitch Creek, kind of got hit with that cheap shot. And we saw the ensuing melee afterwards. You don't need to be doing that. Let's just enjoy the moments that matter. And that was the Mitch Creek dunk.
Indeed. R.I.P. Delhi. He lived a good life. BK, let's get into some NBA talk. We're going to go around the NBA. I actually want to start out in Memphis, and Zach Randolph got his number retired by the Memphis Grizzlies yesterday. He's a two-time All-Star in Memphis, averaged 16.8 points, 10.2 rebounds over 8 seasons with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies won their game yesterday against Houston, 113-106. BK, I was always a Zach Randolph fan. It's good to see him. You know, he found a home with the Memphis Grizzlies. He kind of really got his dues once he got to Memphis as well. He was a little bit underappreciated before that. I spoke to him a number of times while he was in the NBA, and he was actually one of the nicest people I could speak to, which actually surprised me because, you know, when you go in with like these sort of preconceived notions about somebody, and then they turn out to be, you know, one of the nicest people. He was always great to talk to. A great guy, great player, and thoroughly deserving of having his number retired. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that man was giving you 16 and 10 a night in Memphis without jumping over a piece of paper. It was all on the floor, all in the post, you know, and he really was, you know, the embodiment of that grit and grind era, along with Tony Allen and Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, as well as a little bit of Rudy Gay in there as well. But for a franchise that hasn't had a ton of success, these years through the grit and grind era, where they were making deep playoff runs, coming up against, you know, legendary teams and really giving a heck of a fight. These were really fun teams in an era when, you know, there wasn't as much physicality. They were bringing as much physicality as humanly possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Tony Allen. I believe Tony Allen's going to get his number retired. They needed to get Zach Randolph out of the way first because, like you said, he is the embodiment of that franchise. Zach Randolph, he's going to go down as third all-time in Grizzlies history in games played, third in minutes played, second in total rebounds, first in offensive rebounds, second in defensive rebounds, and third all-time in points for the franchise. So shout out to Zach Randolph. BK, another guy that's close to breaking some records is Steph Curry. So he entered yesterday's game needing 10 to overtake Ray Allen with the most threes all time. But guess what? The Australian Minister of Defence, Matisse Thybulle, came in and he put a stop to that, didn't he, BK? Steph Curry, 3 of 14 from behind the arc yesterday, 6 of 20 shooting overall. Matisse, Yeah, how good is this guy defensively? He's got the length, he's got the athleticism. I love this guy, BK.
I mean, Steve Kerr said it perfectly after the game. It was like, it's that rare combination of length, athleticism, speed, and brains. He's such a smart defender. And just the length that he has to contest shots. I mean, how many times have you seen anyone block a Steph Curry three? Once, leave alone twice. I think Kirk Goldsberry noted that was the first time that's ever happened that Steph's had 2 3-pointers crammed in one game. So that kind of shows you just how hard he was hustling out there. And, his game isn't going to show up in the stat sheet. But he was the most influential player in that game because Philly, they've been up and down this season. Golden State, that was only their 5th loss of the season. So for Thibault to come in there and shut that record attempt down from Curry, I mean, he was phenomenal yesterday.
Yeah, I've also got a theory that Steph Curry really wants to break this record at MSG tomorrow.
Fact, I'm with you. He's not going to play the Pacers game, and he's going to drain 8 threes in the first half against the Knicks.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Joel Embiid had a nice quote about Matisse after the game. He said, look, I've been on this since he got here. I think he has a chance to be the defensive player of the year. He showed that tonight. The way he guarded Steph, I haven't seen it in a long time. And certainly, I definitely think, Matisse should be a shout for Defensive Player of the Year so far. I mean, he's just so versatile, isn't he?
100%. I mean, especially when you consider how much defense the Sixers have lost without Ben Simmons on the floor. And then you have a guy like Thibault who you can throw out on point guards out on the perimeter. And, he's got good size that, he can defend 1 through 4 and get out in transition. That's the kind of disruptive player you kind of need to replicate that fast break that the Sixers are kind of missing without Simmons on the floor. I'm a huge Thibault fan. I think if he can start to knock down consistent 3-pointers, we saw him knock down a couple in the second half, and sort of emulate that model that the Mikal Bridges has sort of exploded into in the last couple of seasons. I think Thibault has a chance to be a really, really special player. He was second team all defense last season, only playing 20 minutes a night. So if you kind of look at it through that prism, if he can get into those consistent kind of minutes, the sky's the limit for this guy.
It really makes you wonder, though, like as good defensively as he is, a Simmons and Thibault pairing in the Olympics, like defensively, that would be. I don't know if we're going to see it though.
You throw Exum in there too. Remember that in the semis and the final.
It's we can only hope, right? We can only hope. Look,
we're holding teams at 30 points a game.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Look, another boomer, the greatest boomer of all time that we need to talk about next. Patty Mills is also closing in on a career milestone. Needs 3 more 3-pointers to reach 1,300 in his career, which is great for Patty. He's seen his 3-point attempts rise in each of the last 3 seasons. He's up to 6.8 this season per game. He's making them at a rate of about 45% this year. Almost 75% of his shots, his points scored, I should say, in this season have come off 3-pointers. He's on track to make 253 pointers this season, which would smash his previous record of 161. BK, he's been great from 3-point range this year, hasn't he?
Oh, 100%. He's shooting it at a high volume and he's shooting it at a high clip. I think he's top 5 in the league in 3-point percentage. But I was having a look at the list of all-time 3-pointers, obviously looking at Steph and his attempt to pass Ray Allen, and down the list with Patty Mills, he's about to pass some really, really impressive names, guys like Dan Marley, Kevin Love, Allen Houston. There's a chance Patty Mills ends up as a top 20 3-point shooter of all time if he keeps this up for a couple more seasons, which for a guy who's played his entire career off the bench would be a heck of an achievement.
It's a heck of a. You're absolutely right, because I was looking at the same list as well. So if you look at it, say, I don't think he's going to hit 250 a season, for the next couple of seasons. But even if you say he gets a couple of hundred, over the next couple of seasons, that automatically moves him into the top 25.
Yeah.
And then you play another season or so, he's going to be a top 23-point shooter of all time when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long that'll last, given the wave that's coming behind him with the level of threes these guys are getting up. But some of the names he's passing, and then to then get into the top 20 of all time is a huge achievement that we'll probably see Patty do in the next couple of seasons. But he'll definitely slide into that top 50 after a couple more games.
And he's already broken a couple of Nets records this year. He set the Nets franchise record for most 3-pointers made off the bench with 9. earlier this season. And he's also the first player in Nets franchise history to make 7 3-pointers off the bench twice. He had a perfect 7 for 7 in his regular season debut on opening night. BK, I want to move on to Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. Seems to be a bit of a never-ending saga over there. There's a rumored Simmons to deal to Portland, or rumored as in apparently there's been talks. Lillard says he wants to stay. The Blazers say, look, we don't want to deal Lillard. We want to rebuild our team around Damian Lillard. They've apparently offered CJ McCollum to Philadelphia. Philadelphia said, look, that won't cut it because they're still asking the world for Ben Simmons. What do you make of all this, BK?
It's an interesting one. I mean, Dame's obviously come out and said, he wants to stay. But then there's also that talk of that 2-year, $100 million extension. And the Blazers don't really seem too interested in that. So it's kind of two directions they can go here. I mean, with their front office kind of drama at the moment as well, you kind of have to think that given their record, things aren't really shaping up too well for them for this season. Lillard and McCollum both out at the moment. Lillard potentially to come back today, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Damian Lillard didn't end up getting traded. For who, I don't know if it's going to be we build around Ben Simmons type of deal or if he ends up in New York. But I mean, Dame's been so loyal to Portland for his entire career. I almost want to see him somewhere else unless the Blazers are willing to build a team around him. And to be honest, they haven't really done that in recent seasons. So if they're going to make a trade, it doesn't necessarily have to be Lillard. It can be the other pieces to maybe try and put together a contending team, because a player of Lillard's caliber, he deserves to be making deep playoff runs every season.
Yeah, look, I'm getting big sort of Carmelo Anthony loyal to the Knicks vibes here, where he was loyal to the franchise. They didn't really put him in a position to win. And that's the same thing that's happening with Dame right now. I mean, he's 31, 32, so he's in a win now situation. He needs to win now because he doesn't have time. And even if you trade him, like, for example, if he goes to Philadelphia, right? Like, I think he helps them in the immediate future. He does take them a little bit closer to an NBA championship. But then if they don't win, this year or next year, then that contract, like you mentioned, it's going to be what, $50 million something a year for a 34-year-old. That's going to be a bit of an albatross hanging around your neck. So it's a very weird situation because I don't think Portland can sort of make a trade that'll put him in a win-now situation where Dame needs to be. I think if he goes to Philly, he is in a win-now situation, but then Philly's got to weigh the options up of like, all right, if we don't win and then we're stuck with this guy after on a big contract,
Oh, they're already stuck with the guy on a big contract right now. That's not playing.
And he's not even playing. All right, BK, we're going to close out with a look at some of the games today. We've already had one, the Bucks beating the Knicks earlier this morning. We've got the Nets and the Pistons coming up. Nets $1.32 favorites, as they should be. Detroit Pistons $3.60. The Lions at 7. Totals at 211.5. That one's actually live on SBS Viceland today. BK, Nets are 18-8. They played some pretty good defense against the Hawks. I finally saw what you were talking about. They played some pretty good defense in that fourth quarter against the Hawks. Held them to, I think, 13 points. Pistons have lost 11 straight. They suck. They really suck. I mean, this one's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's about to be 12 straight.
Yeah, it's about to be 12 straight.
Cade Cunningham versus KD. That should be fun though.
Yeah, it was a fun matchup earlier in the season, wasn't it? So I think that's probably the one to keep an eye out on. Next game we've got up on deck is the Spurs and the Pelicans. Spurs $1.77 here. The Pelicans $2.13. The line is at 2. Totals at 220. That one's live on NBA League Pass. I am going with the Spurs in this one here. I think it might be a little bit close too, actually. I think the Spurs.
I'm with you on the Spurs. It's their 5th game in 7 nights at home though, which does help. And the Pelicans, they've whilst they got one of the worst records in the league, they're slowly starting to put it together. So they could push the Spurs here. But I'm a rock with San Antonio on this one.
Yeah, I think San Antonio's had a nice little stretch over the last, 7 or 8 games. Next game up on deck, the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Potentially, we could see Josh Green and Giddy on the court together. Hopefully, we get to see them. The Mavericks are $1.56 favorites. Oklahoma City, $2.54. The line's at 4. Total is at 206.5. That one's live on NBA League Pass. BK, hopefully we get to see a couple of Aussies in action here. But you know what? I'm actually going with the Thunder in an upset on this one here.
Okay, all right. Hey, the Thunder have been prone to a few upsets this season. I don't hate that. That's not crazy, but I'm going to still rock with the Dallas Mavericks in this one. But I'm a big fan of the Thunder. I like what they're doing out there.
Yeah, me too. I really like their young core. I feel like if they get a nice little one more piece, they could be dangerous in a couple of seasons. But I do like them today for the upset. Next game on deck, we have Minnesota Timberwolves, Portland Trail Blazers. Ooh, the odds are pretty close on this one here. Blazers $1.88 favorite. The Timberwolves $1.99. The line's at 1. Total's at 223. Also live on NBA League Pass. BK, these are the 9th and 10th seeds in the Western Conference. Both are 11-15 on the season. Blazers on a 4-game losing streak. Wolves on 5. One team is going to be a winner after today, obviously. If Dame Lillard is back, I'm going with the Blazers. If not, I'm going with Minnesota. That's the caveat for me. If Lillard's back, Blazers. If not, Minnesota.
I think that's very, very fair. And the Motor Center isn't the fortress it once was earlier in the season. The Blazers have been slacking at home of late. So I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves. No CJ for the Blazers, and Dame is questionable. So I'm gonna go with Ant-Man and the Wolves to get the road win today.
Yeah, they've had some exciting games. The Timberwolves. Last game on deck is the afternoon game. The Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, big favorites. Big favorites here. The Lakers $1.20. Orlando $5. The line's at 10. The total's at 220. Live on League Pass this afternoon. BK. I think the Orlando Magic's one of the most irrelevant franchises in the NBA. To be perfectly honest, they're not good. They haven't been good. I don't think they're going to be good. And I think the Lakers haven't been really great either, but they're going to have an easy win today. And they need it. They need a comfortable win just to sort of get their momentum going back again.
Yeah, 100%. I can't see the Magic doing anything in this game. I'm still a believer in the Lakers. They can turn this around.
I don't know if I believe in them. I don't share your enthusiasm for the Los Angeles roster. But the Magic are on a 4-game losing streak. Like I said, they're bad. And it's going to be a 5-game losing streak after this. BK, we'll see you again on Friday morning. As always, have a great week. Enjoy the games. We'll be back on Wednesday with a very special guest. This has been the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au, and we'll see you guys during the week.